Hey guys, it's DestinyLashae. I know I've recently gotten a couple new subscribers, so thank you guys so much for joining the fam. To my old subscribers, you guys already know the deal. I love you. You guys follow me on almost everything. If you don't, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Snapchat. I usually post things on there when I'm not on here. Recently, I've been browsing Amazon a lot more often, probably more than I should be, and I found this eyeshadow palette that I thought was worth purchasing. Now this palette was only like $19.98 or $19.88, or it was like 20 bucks basically. So this eyeshadow palette looks like a palette that I would create because it has a ton of warm shades. It has a couple pops of color like blues and turquoises and reds, and it also has glitters on the side. This palette looks beautiful in the actual pans, but I want to see how it works on the eyes. So I'm just gonna quickly show you guys the swatches of each shade. So the first shade we're gonna swatch is Maple Red. The next shade is Cabernet. Story. This one is called Silence. This is like a nice brown, true brown shade. The next one is Nightingale. This is like more of a mustardy yellow shade. The next shade is Earth. It's like a nice rich orange shade. The next one is Ember. This has to be my favorite shade out of the palette. This is a nice rich goldy brown shimmery metallic shade. The next shade is Dark Clouds. This one swatched a little bit patchy and it wasn't as dark as I would like it to be. The next shade is Cocoa. The next one is Scorched. This has to be my second favorite shade out of this palette. The next one is Champagne. The next one is Forest. This is a true green metallic shade. The next one is Memories. The next shade is Tipsy. This is another metallic shade. This is more of a, I would say peachy orange shade. The next shade is Blue Rose. This is a really pretty color. I wish this color was a little bit more pigmented. The next shade is Lullaby. Moonlight is the next shade. This is almost a white color, but it has a little bit of pink undertones in it. The next one is Wheatfield. This is more of a true gold metallic shade. The next one is Mystic Night. This is a true purple metallic shade. And the next one is Dew. This one is a nice light teal metallic shade. So now I'm gonna swatch the glitter shades for you really quick. Nocturne. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this is the deeper pink glittery shade. The next one is Diamond Midnight. This is a black glitter shade. Burning Clouds is the next one. This one is a true red glitter shade. Star Twinkle is the next shade. This is a nice sky blue glitter. And the last one is Pink Dream. So what I've been doing lately for my eyeshadow base, I've been using my LA Pro concealer, and I'm just gonna use that today to carve out my brows as well as set my base for my eyeshadow. So since this palette was only 20 bucks and I don't know how the shades are gonna look without setting my concealer, I'm gonna set my concealer just in case. I feel like sometimes this helps with the blending process. So I'm gonna go into the shade right here called Maple Red, and I'm just gonna place this right below my brow bone. Wow. Oh my gosh. This shade is really pigmented and it's blending really nice. So I'm gonna dip into this color right here called Cabernet. This shade has about medium fallout. There you go. You can see it a little bit. It has a little bit more fallout than the last shade. I'm not really too pressed about it right now because this palette was only $20, so I expected it not to be perfect, you know? So we're gonna go into this shade. I'm using the Morphe 514 brush. This is another orange shade. I just wanna try it out and see how it looks. You can definitely see the difference. The shades right now look the same on my eyes as they do in the palette, which is great. So now I'm gonna go into this color right here. This is the true brown color out of the palette. It's called Silence. I'm gonna dip into that. This shade doesn't have as much fallout as the last one. And I'm just gonna go into the outer V with this shade. Now I'm going into this shade right here. This is called Dark Clouds. This is the black shade in the palette. And I'm just going to put this in the outer V. This black isn't as pigmented as I thought it would be. I thought it would be a little bit more black, but if you're looking for like a smoky black shade, this one would definitely work. Well, this black shade is a little bit hard to blend, kind of getting black shadow everywhere. So I feel like I'm just blending the black away, kind of. It's blending okay. I feel like I had to pack the color on a couple times for it to get to the pigment I wanted it to be. And I do have a lot of fallout down here. Like, I wasn't placing eyeshadow down here, but eyeshadow got down here. So I'm going to go into this shade right here. This is called Ember. Now, this shade doesn't have as much fallout as the mattes, it looks like. So I'm going to go into Ember. I'm going to use this Real Techniques brush. I'm just going to pack this color in the inner portion of the eyelid. This color is pretty pigmented as well. I'm pretty sure it would be a lot more pigmented if I applied it with my finger. So I'm going to try. Yeah, it's a lot more pigmented if I apply it with my finger. So the next shade that I'm going to dip into is Scorched. And I'm just going to place that in the center of my lid. These shades are pretty, but I feel like I'm so used to the Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadows that if I use anything else, it's just like the foiled shades come second to the Makeup Geek shades. So the next shade we're going to go into is Wheatfield. I'm going to put this in the inner portion of the eye, like right here. That's a pretty shade. That's a really pretty shade. So I'm going to take my MAC 217 brush and I'm just going to blend this out right here. Alright, so right now my thoughts are that the colors are just really meshing together. I definitely love the orange matte shade. It performs just as good as the Morphe 350 palettes, like the orange shades that I tried, but these metallics are definitely subpar. They are not, they like blended away into oblivion. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but I'm pretty good at blending my eyeshadow, and the metallics kind of blended in with the crease color that I had going on in there, and the metallics kind of just disappeared. I'm gonna take this pink shade down here. I'm trying to grab some glitter, and it's a little bit tricky, and I'm just gonna see how this glitter applies. Oh, okay. Oh, now that this eye is completely busted. Ooh, this glitter is nice though. I'm gonna take my LA Pro concealer. These LA Pro concealers get dry as a chip, man. I'm gonna take this shade here called Cocoa. This shade does not have as much fallout as the other mattes that I've tried so far. This shade Cocoa definitely isn't as pigmented as the first orange shade that I tried, and it's blending nicely on top of this sticky base. So the next shade that I want to dip into is this shade right here, Lullaby, but I'm going to place this right below that orange shade. This shade transfers a little bit more transparent than I thought it would, but it's still very nice, but I thought it would be a lot more pigmented. I'm going to dip into this shade right here called Dew. I'm just going to place this in the inner corner. So what I'm going to do is try to work with these metallic shades. I'm going to use my Fix Plus and wet my brush and dip back into that Dew shade and pack it on the eyelid. So this shade is definitely a lot more pigmented now that I sprayed some Fix Plus on it. Honestly, for me, the metallic shades are not it. So I'm gonna dip into this blue rose shade. So this shade is very pigmented. I don't know how long these metallic shades though would last on the lid. I'm not feeling these metallics at all, man. At all. I'm gonna go into Mystic Night. It's this deep purple color. Honestly guys, at this point I've given up, but I'm just testing all the shades for you guys. Now this shade could be a whole problem in a good way. This shade definitely looks a lot more pigmented for sure. So just to test out one more glitter for you guys, I'm gonna take this Stars Twinkle shade and I'm just gonna put this in the inner corner. Now these glitters though, they have a little bit of fallout, but it's applying really nicely. So I'm just gonna clean up around my eyes. Just because I'm testing out the shadows, I want to try out some of the shadows on the bottom lash line and see how they look. So I'm gonna take the Maple Red shade and I'm using a MAC brush, like a MAC eyeshadow brush, and I'm just gonna put that on the bottom, like kind of smudge that out. This shade is super pigmented, like. So I'm gonna go into Lullaby with that same brush. I wiped it off a little bit, and I'm just gonna go on the bottom lash line. This one, in my opinion, I would say this palette is definitely worth purchasing. I would purchase this palette just for the glitter shades because they work great. The orange matte shades are awesome. They do have a medium amount of fallout, so if you don't like fallout, you might not want to purchase this palette because it does have a medium amount of fallout on some of the matte shades. But the orange shades look great on the eye. They're super pigmented. The metallic shades definitely weren't good to me, but everything else in this palette worked out. I'll definitely be using this palette again in the future. I'll probably combine it with some of the metallic shades that I already own, but this palette is definitely worth the money in my opinion. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Do not forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our channel, we would love to have you, and check out some of my other videos that I made just for you, and I will see you in the next video.